Hello MBA aspirants, this video will give you insight into how to crack SNAP. SNAP, which is an abbreviation for Symbiosis National Aptitude Test. Let's look at the first component first, which is introduction. SNAP is a popular MBA entrance exam conducted by Symbiosis International University for admission to its various management institutes. Now, when I say various, I'm talking about SIBM, SCMHRD, SIIB, SITM, etc., etc. In fact, Symbiosis offers you a wide diversity of programs, starting from international business to computer studies to telecom management to banking and finance, and of course the flagship management program. After CAT, it is one of the most popular MBA entrance exams in India, and more than 50,000 students take the exam annually every year. It is still a pen and paper based test, whereas we can see changes in the testing environment, and we have seen the big tests like CAT going online, or a computer based test, Symbiosis test, which is SNAP, still continues to be a pen and paper test. Let's look at the test pattern. The nature of the questions in the exam varies from easy to moderate, and the paper pattern has been fairly consistent in the last few years. The exam is a test of speed and accuracy. In fact, these are the two pillars to which a management student has to hold on to. Speed, which measures your efficiency, and accuracy, which measures your effectiveness. And the challenge of solving 150 questions in 2 hours generally places students under a lot of stress. The exam features 150 questions and 180 marks, which obviously means that there are certain questions which have more weight as compared to certain others. The total time allotted for the exam is 120 minutes, that is 2 hours. Areas tested in the exam. If we look at the last few years, these are the areas which have been profiled in this test. General English, 40 questions, 40 marks. Quantitative ability, data interpretation and data sufficiency, 40 questions, 40 marks. General awareness, 40 questions, 40 marks. And analytical and logical reasoning, 30 questions, 60 marks. So overall we have 150 questions and 180 marks. Logical reasoning questions are of 2 marks each, and all other questions are of 1 mark each. No sectional time limit, so you are at liberty to place your sections on the time graph the way you want to. So we generally recommend that you start with a strong section so that you get a positive flavor of the paper and it gets you going, and the inertia takes you through the test. Each question has 4 responses and there is 25% negative marking. So negative marking ensures that you're not guessing away to glory, but you are working on the options carefully, and if at all you have to make a guess, it should be an intelligent one. Let's look at the sectional inputs now, the sections in detail. Starting with quantitative aptitude, data interpretation and data sufficiency. Traditionally speaking, SNAP exams have always had a heavy emphasis on arithmetic questions. When I say arithmetic, I'm talking about topics like time and work, mixtures and allegations, ratio and proportion, percentages, time and distance, averages, and profit and loss. So the paper is predominantly skewed towards the arithmetic module. As far as geometry is concerned, mensuration has been a fairly regular part of the exam. Data sufficiency has been present in SNAP on a fluctuating basis, with it being absent from the exam in 2009 and 2011. So the message here is that since questions from data sufficiency have been there in certain years, one has to prepare similar questions, and you cannot go in with a judgment or a mindset that since the questions were missing in certain years, it might extend to this year as well. In general, the data interpretation questions asked in SNAP are fairly easy and are not as complex as the ones asked in XAT, CAT, or as calculation intensive as the ones asked in IFT, which therefore means that data interpretation has been given a different role here. It's not just limited to calculations. It's easier on the calculation front, but one would suggest that still you go in with the preparation with respect to the standard DI tools, and you cover bar graphs, pie charts, line charts, tables, and you should be comfortable handling questions across these tools. An attempt of 24 to 28 questions within 40 minutes should land you in the safe zone. Again, the interpretation of the safe zone would vary from one year to another and from one institute to another. But this is a generic input, and one should not align the preparation strategy or the paper strategy as per exclusively this input. You have to evolve as a test taker and see how you balance out different sections on the time graph. Let's look at section 2, which is general English. Generally, this is an easy section in SNAP. Now, easy means that in the same time you're able to pick up more questions, and also the accuracy levels are intact. Features a host of vocabulary questions, grammar questions, and short RC passages. Whereas in other tests like CAT, ZAT, we have seen a mix of short and long RC passages, and the lengthier ones are fairly elaborate. In SNAP, RC has been slightly underplayed, and one has seen shorter passages. In the last couple of years, only 4 to 6 RC questions have appeared in this section, and there has been a greater focus on vocabulary questions. Keeping this in mind, you're advised to learn and revise as many words as possible. A particular favorite with SNAP paper setters revolves around kangaroo words. A kangaroo word is one that contains letters of another word in order with the same meaning. For example, the word allocate contains the word allot. For more such pairs, you can refer to the list of kangaroo words given in miscellaneous word list of the Bullseye Vocabulary Builder section. The verbal ability part of the exam generally probes questions majorly from the following areas. There is verbal reasoning, there is vocabulary, and there is grammar. So verbal reasoning would take you through questions like jumbled sentences, finding the error in a particular sentence. Vocabulary would be questions on antonyms, synonyms, questions where you are basically tested on the meaning and usage of a particular word. And grammar, of course, would be fill in the blanks and similar questions which test basic usage of English grammar. For the overall section, you should try to attempt 29 to 30 questions, and you should be able to do these within 30 minutes. Again, the time division is a very, very specific and individual decision, and one has to evolve as a test taker to understand how much time per section should be given so that the overall attempt is in place. Section 3, Analytical and Logical Reasoning. This is probably the most important section of the exam. Logical reasoning questions carry 2 marks each. So whereas other sections we have seen each question carrying 1 mark, over here the questions are weighted heavier as compared to other sections, and one has seen 2 marks per question, which makes it a very, very critical section in terms of crossing the cutoff. Keeping this in mind, it becomes a vital section to help you clear the sectional cutoffs. This section is potpourri of sorts and features questions from diverse areas. The popular areas in this section include critical reasoning, deductive logic, analogies, logical reasoning sets, series, visual reasoning, arrangement, blood relations, and puzzles. Now, these are typical logical reasoning areas, and practice is the buzzword here. If you have practiced across similar questions, your comfort level here is more, and you are bound to pick up more questions safely and accurately in this section. Overall, one should target an attempt of 20 plus questions within 40 minutes. Now, you must have seen that the number of questions and the time which you have to devote to these questions, this analogy is very critical for you as a test taker, particularly for a test like SNAP, because there is no sectional time limit, and you have to manage the approach and the attempt per section and the overall attempt on your. Section 4, General Awareness. This is one area that gives grief to a number of students. The reason is the vastness attached to it. And when I say vastness, I'm talking about different areas of the environment. On one side, you have current affairs, you have all the news of the world, India, the regional news, etc., etc. On the other hand, you have an equally heavy and vast static awareness area, which would profile questions on science, geography, history, economy, polity, etc. The major areas quizzed by SNAP in this area include static GK, current affairs, brand and business GK. So there is a lot of emphasis on business GK as well, because eventually you are preparing for a career in the business world. A lot of emphasis is on current affairs questions, the major news stories, awards and prizes, sports event winners, and important mergers and acquisitions for the last 1 year at least. Generally, GK sections have very low cutoffs, so you do not need to overly worry about the section. Attempt only those questions about which you are sure. Be ready to leave questions in this section. An attempt of 15 to 20 within 10 minutes is a good approach. Having said that, I would like to add that the GK section is a low involvement section in terms of the time required to see the questions and attempt them. In case you know the answer, it's a yes. In case you don't know the answer, it's a no. So stay away from wild guessing here. Even if you're good with 15, 20 attempts out of 40, I think this would place you in the safe zone. Having discussed the various sections and the test pattern, let's look at some sample questions from the previous snaps over the years. Verbal ability, let's look at this question. Choose the correct synonym of the word in capital letters from the 4 options given below. Aficionado. And the 4 options: affection, ardent fan, good friend, tour guide. Now, unless you know the meaning of the word aficionado, it is, I think, virtually impossible to pick the right option. Then you are purely playing on probability. So aficionado basically means somebody who's enthusiastic about a particular activity. And if you look at the options carefully, only option B qualifies as the answer. Hence, B is the answer. Let's take another question from verbal ability. Identify 2 most appropriate options from those given below that can complete the sentence without changing the meaning. I dash scorpions, they are diabolic. Now, again, before you look at the options, you have to understand 2 things here. 1, meaning of the word diabolic, and 2, the contextual usage of the options here. The word diabolic means relating to the evil, the devil, right? So if you now look at the sentence, the options which qualify would be 1 and 3. And the only option which captures the essence of these 2 words is option number C, hence the answer. I hate scorpions, they are diabolic. I loathe scorpions, they are diabolic. So the meaning of the sentence has not changed. Logical reasoning. 5 children were administered psychological tests to know their intellectual levels. In the report, psychologists pointed out that the child A is less intelligent than the child B, the child C is less intelligent than the child D, the child B is less intelligent than the child C, and the child A is more intelligent than the child E. Which child is the most intelligent? Not a tough question, it's only the length of the question which may be a scare. On that day, some students may opt out purely on the basis of the length of the question. And that too, I think, if you see the question again, it's a repetition of a particular analogy. They're comparing 2 children at one point of time, and you go in pairs and you flowchart the information, and you'll easily figure out that D is the answer. And on one side, which is the extreme right, we have D. On the extreme left, we'll have E. And between these 2 extremes, we have other people placed in terms of their intelligence level. So D is therefore the answer. Quantitative ability. Dinesh can do a piece of work in 10 days. Harish can do it in 12 days. Dinesh, Harish and Subodh can together do it in 4 days. In how many days can Subodh alone do this work? This is a typical starting question from the concept of time and work. You have been given 3 different people there, and for 2 of them, the time to complete the work is given, and the 3 of them put together is also given. You have to find the time taken by the 3rd person. So a pure application of basics of time and work. You find the work which they will do in 1 day. So all of them put together will do 1/4 of the work. And Dinesh and Harish put together will do 1/10 plus 1/12. So this you subtract from 1 by 4 and you will get Subodh's 1 day's work. You inverse it and you will get the number of days in which Subodh will complete the work, which is 10 days. And obviously options A and C are eliminated because these cannot qualify as answers based on the data given. So the only I think ones which qualify would be B and D, and some analysis and application of basics, and B is the answer. General awareness. The national flag of India was designed by Dash, and 4 options given there. One may have a slight preference for options A, B, and C, and very few people would know that the answer here is option D. Now, this is not guess. This is not to be based on guesswork. This has to be based on data and facts. So unless you read information, remember it, you cannot approach questions successfully on the general awareness section. What is the full form of the term NPA as used in the banking environment? Now, since you're preparing for a career in the management world where banking and finance are very vital components, hence a question from the finance environment, the banking environment, NPA, and those of you who've been reading business news, you would probably appreciate that this is a basic term which is used in the banking sector, and the answer is non-performing assets, an asset which ceases to generate income for the lender. Now let's look at the preparation strategy. We've discussed the 4 sections. We've discussed certain sample questions which have been there in the previous snaps, and this would of course give you an insight into how to prepare for these different sections and the test overall. The paper can be split into 3 parts: concept driven, practice intensive, and environment sensitive. If you look carefully, quantitative ability and select areas of general English are concept driven. So unless you know the concept, you cannot go ahead with the question. For example, a question on cyclic quadrilaterals cannot be attempted unless you know what is a cyclic quadrilateral. So concept becomes extremely critical in the quant domain. Similarly, in general English, there are certain rules of the grammar. So unless you appreciate those rules, you will not be able to get the questions in place. Data interpretation and logical reasoning are practice intensive. Now these are questions where you need more practice. If you have been working on similar questions, the comfort levels go up and you're more probable to do well there. And general awareness is environment sensitive, which will assess your sensitivity from a dual perspective, current and static. What differentiates a test from the CAT is the general awareness section and the overall LOD, the overall level of difficulty. One has seen that the general awareness section is missing in the CAT paper, and the overall level of difficulty is on the higher side in the CAT as compared to SNAP. The general awareness needs special thrust for SNAP test preparation. So those of you who've been preparing for CAT, you are already prepared with respect to the quant, verbal and logical elements of the test. So the only component which needs special care and focus is the general awareness section, where you need to read aggressively on static and current components of the section. Let's look at the preparation strategy section-wise now, starting with the quant ability and data interpretation section. Oh yes, go back to class 9th, 10th NCERT school books. All the concepts have been given there. You need to go back and revisit those books and make yourself comfortable with the core concepts. Since fast calculations can save time, practice with tables, squares, cubes, and decimal fraction conversions. So you should be quick with numbers when it comes to squares, cubes, and conversions. And this can, of course, give you an edge in the quant and DI section. Develop comfort level with numbers. We have seen students shying away from numbers. Such people will always have a problem approaching questions on quant and DI. So practicing across similar questions with concept clarity is the mantra for this particular section. Verbal ability. Read good books and newspapers. Read a national daily and pay close attention to its editorial pages. It depends on what national daily you lay your hands on. You are suggested to pay special focus, special attention on the editorial page of the national daily. this page would analyze not just the news but also give you insights into usage of certain words which are frequently used in news analysis. Learn a minimum of 20 to 30 words daily along with their multifarious usages. So it's not just the word and the meaning, it's the different meanings which the word can take in different situations, which you need to appreciate. Consulting a dictionary like the Cambridge Advanced Learners Dictionary, Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary is a good idea. Snap preparation tips for logical reasoning. Logical reasoning can be practiced using puzzle books and other books on reasoning. You can also profit from working with R.S. Agarwal's book on reasoning, available easily. Practice across similar questions. As I said a while back, puzzles and reasoning questions, these are best handled if you have worked previously on similar questions. Snap preparation tips for general awareness, current affairs, business and economy, prizes, science, sports, and other miscellaneous events need attention. You may study the Bullseye Snap GK material, which is fairly comprehensive. Manorama yearbook for major current events, economy business pages of the Hindu, the Times of India, the Hindustan Times, general knowledge digest like Maniram Agarwal for static GK. Now these are just examples. You need to look at the source available at your end and work on the information accordingly. So eventually we would suggest that you follow a 3-step approach while preparing for the test. Concepts, application, test taking. So go in this sequence, ensure that concepts are in place. Once the concepts are in place, kindly appreciate an application of those concepts through questions. And finally, put yourself in test-taking situations. Take mock tests, mock snaps, and this will build your comfort level and the skills which we talk about: time management, prioritization, and balance between accuracy and speed. Time management, of course, because on one side we have efficiency, on the other side we have effectiveness. So you need to balance the two and come out as a successful test taker. Prioritization becomes very critical in Snap because we don't have sectional time limits. So you need to decide which sections you have to start with and which questions you need to begin with in that particular section. Since there are 4 sections to choose from, dilly-dallying and hip-hopping from one section to another is not the approach. You need to place the section strategically on the time curve and then see how you can manage the challenge of 150 questions in 2 hours. And accuracy and speed, these have to be balanced so that your overall sectional cutoff is attained and the overall test cutoff is also attained. Thank you. We hope that the video has given you strategic insights into how to prepare for the Snap.